With HHN right around the corner, we know everybody is preparing to plan for their trips to Orlando. And we know that one of the first things that you need to plan is your resort. So today we're going to cover the best resorts for HHN specifically to stay at on Universal Orlando property that will give you the best experience for HHN.
Welcome to the channel, everyone. Now, if this is your first time here with us, we discuss everything Halloween Horror Nights as well as other things happening in the theme parks around Orlando. So be sure to subscribe to the channel as well as give this video a thumbs up, for it does help us create more content, especially Halloween Horror Nights, just for you guys. Now, moving on to what this video is about, and that is the question, what is the best hotel to stay at while visiting Halloween Horror Nights? Well, first off, I'm gonna say you need to stay on Universal Orlando Resort property, period. Any of the hotels are going to be able to give you great benefits and perks while visiting the parks during regular operation and Halloween Horror Nights. Nothing outside of the property is going to be able to match what these hotels can give you, and it comes from a huge range of categories. However, though, we do have a little ranking on which hotels actually give you more benefits or a better advantage compared to some of them on Universal Orlando Resort.
So we're gonna go in order and tell you guys all about all of the hotels on Universal Orlando Resort property and all of the benefits and downfalls of staying at all of those resorts, leading up to our most favorite resort for HHN specifically. So starting with number one being Endless Summer, both dockside and surfside. So both Endless Summer Surfside and Dockside are going to be your most affordable option for resorts on Universal Orlando property. They're great family resorts, however, they are going to be the farthest away from the park. So especially traveling to HHN, the shuttle that takes you to City Walk most likely is going to get very crowded and the line's going to get very long. So just know that if you do decide to stay here, that you're going to have to plan ahead to get there early.
Now, another way to get to the parks is by walking. Now, I don't recommend you walking from Endless Summer all the way to City Walk, which they do have sidewalks available for that, but that means you have to cross I-Drive and the treacherous overpass of I-4. And especially the biggest problem with doing this as an option of transportation is that you're gonna be walking all day, whether you're in the parks first off, or if you're just going to Horror Nights. Horror Nights is a long event, especially at night. So think about leaving Horror Nights and then trying to walk across I-4 and I-Drive to get back to your resort. It's gonna be about 2 a.m. guys. So think about how late it's gonna be, how tired you're gonna be, and how long that walk is. It's not something we really recommend. However, just like Stephanie said, this is one of your more valued resorts, which means you can save a ton of money by staying at this resort, which gives you a little bit of spare cash to go ahead and buy some other perks that Halloween Horror Nights offers, which is like RIP tours, express passes, and much more, especially like Horror Nights, like merchandise and all the other kind of stuff they have at the event. So that is something, if you're looking to be on a more financial plan, this is the way to go. But just know transportation wise and the location is going to be more on the downfall for you if you do choose this resort.
So our next tier of resorts is going to be Aventura and Cabana Bay. This is also the next tier of resorts in price. So it is going to be a little bit more expensive than Endless Summer, but not as expensive as the deluxe resorts. These resorts are going to be a little bit farther away from the park, but not quite as far as Endless Summer. You can walk to the park from both of these resorts, but they also do offer the shuttle service, just like all the other resorts do as well. And a pro tip about Aventura, you can walk over to Sapphire Falls and use the water taxi there. Unfortunately, Cabana Bay does not have a water taxi, but it is right across the street from both Sapphire Falls and Aventura if you did want to take that.
Also, another thing to mention, Cabana Bay in 2019 had a small little Halloween Horror Nights pop-up, and it was themed around Stranger Things. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a yearly thing or what, but it is really cool to see some of the resorts actually take part into what Halloween Horror Nights is all about.
Yeah, and they did also only allow resort guests to experience that. So if you're not staying at a resort on property, if they do have that pop-up again, you won't be able to go. So that brings us to our next tier of resorts, and that is going to be Sapphire Falls, Portofino Bay, and Royal Pacific.
Now, starting with Sapphire Falls, we did put it in this tier of the resorts that we included. However, it's kind of its own little special resort tier. It's just below Portofino and Royal Pacific, and the reason being is because of Express Pass. Now, every resort that we've listed right before to this point do not include Express Pass with your stay on property, and Sapphire Falls is one of those resorts. However, Royal Pacific and Portofino Bay, they're more of the deluxe resorts, so you will get Express Pass along with your stay. Now, I will mention this, Express Pass is only used for the day operation. They do not give Express Passes out for Halloween Horror Nights. That is a separate ticketed thing that you have to purchase. However, though, it is one of those little perks that if you are going to the parks in the beginning of the day, especially for like Stay and Scream, which is a huge benefit to going to the parks as well for Horror Nights, but having that Express Pass for the beginning of the day while you're there for the regular park, it is also shortened park hours because they have to prepare for Horror Nights. You'll be able to do as many rides as you can possible and then be able to save money while purchasing maybe an Express Pass for later that evening in Horror Nights, so you don't have to get 2 separate Express Pass tickets.
Yeah, and depending on what week of the event you go, it may be really busy and you may want that Express Pass both for during the day and for HHN.
So that's the only downfall about Sapphire Falls, is you will not be getting that Express Pass. However, though, they do have a water taxi that takes you directly to City Walk, which is just a few seconds away from Universal's entrance for Halloween Horror Nights. Also, Royal Pacific and Portofino Bay, they also have water taxis, and all 3 of those resorts also have their own little walking path to take you directly to City Walk and up to Halloween Horror Nights. And another downfall to these resorts is that they are more on the pricier side of things. So if financially you are looking to try to spend the least amount on your resort, this may not be the category or tier that you want to look into because they do cost more, but they do come with that benefit of Express Pass, except for Sapphire Falls.
And keep in mind that all 3 of these resorts do have that walking path, but they're going to be a little bit longer of a walk. Even Royal Pacific, you would think that it would be closer, but it does drop you off into the Islands of Adventure side of City Walk, and then you have to walk all the way around, which you're walking all day anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, but it is something to take into consideration.
Yeah, and you need to remember the crowds for Horror Nights. Think about that length you have to go through City Walk just to get to the entrance. You might get there around like park opening or whatever time you do get there, and there's already a crowd built up, so you're just gonna be stuck in some heavy foot traffic. Now, we listed every hotel on property except for one, which is our most preferred that we think gives you the best advantage at Horror Nights, and that is the Hard Rock Hotel.
So we think that Hard Rock is going to be the best hotel to stay at for HHN specifically. And the reason for this is simply that it is the closest. It has a nice walking path that is maybe a 5-minute walk to the front entrance of the park.
Definitely less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it is really nice. There's water on the side and there's trees, and it's nice and well lit so that your walk back after the event is well lit and nice, and you're not scared because you're going to be scared at the event, so you don't want to be scared on your walk back to your resort. And then if you don't want to walk, they do also have the water taxi option. However, it's honestly just quicker to walk than to wait in line for the water taxi because the walk is literally so short.
The only downfall about the water taxis in general for any of the resorts is that when you are leaving Horror Nights, especially at park close, when the event is finishing up, everybody's leaving as well, and any of those people staying on those resorts that are using the water taxi because they are tired of walking, that line is going to be extremely long. So sometimes I've heard stories of people waiting 45 minutes until they got back to the resort, which if they would have just walked, it would have been 10 to 15 minutes. And that's why Hard Rock is one of our more preferred picks, because at the end of the night, you just want to get back to the room so you can just rest, because it is late at night. Usually the event ends at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. So with Hard Rock being only about a 10-minute walk, if that, could be 7 minutes or so. We don't know, we didn't time it. We'll time it one day. But it is a short walk, so you can get to the resort as quickly as possible, and it is actually a really nice walk and relaxing. So once you get to bed, you can go to bed. And another perk about Hard Rock is it's one of those deluxe resorts, so you also get Express Pass for regular park operations. So this allows you to go to do all the rides you can possible with the shortened park hours due to Halloween Horror Nights happening at night. And then you do Stay and Scream, stay in the park, have fun, and all that stuff. However, the only problem is it is a little more expensive, just like Portofino Bay and Royal Pacific. So if you're looking, like we said, to be more on the financial side, this is not going to be your best pick to choose from, but it is definitely an amazing resort to stay because of the distance. Distance is key here when it comes to Horror Nights.
And even if you are trying to save money, if you're going to buy the Express Pass for all of your family and you do have quite a few members of your family staying, honestly, the room can be cheaper than paying for all of your family to have Express Pass, because Express Pass can be a little pricey.
It is pricey, it's a lot.
So if you are willing to pay the extra money for the Express Pass, we definitely think that that is worth it. So one other perk that we didn't mention earlier in the video that applies to all of the resorts is a special entrance to the park only for resort guests. And this is going to cut down your wait time to get into the park, which is going to be super, super helpful. So with all of that said, we do recommend staying on Universal Orlando property, like we said earlier. And honestly, any resort you do pick is going to be great, but that does it for our list of all the hotels and our kind of ranking for HHN specifically.
So that's gonna do it for us in today's video about which resort to stay at while visiting Halloween Horror Nights. As we all know, Horror Nights is just a few more weeks away, and we are super excited to have much more content coming out to you guys. So be sure to subscribe and like the video, because it does help us produce that Halloween Horror Nights content that we love to give to you guys. It's gonna do it for us today, guys. We'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.
Peace out.